Hey YouTube, I'm Kenneth Ryan.
I'm Lindsay Resop.
And we're back with another exciting episode of Fanfiction Friday. Today we'll be reading a new fic breaking off of Clockwork.
Because we've had like 4 weeks of that.
Yes, today we are going
an entire
to be,
month.
That is true. We are going to be reading Tamaranean Mating Season by Resop. This is a Raven Starfire fic, so it's our first time diving into the world of lesbians.
Except they have penises in it.
Do they?
Yes.
Lame.
It's tagged Futanari. This is us breaking away from the gay by being women with penises.
I don't know what Futanari means.
Women with penises.
Alright.
That's literally the thing.
So the summary for this fic is Raven and Starfire have been dating for about a year now, but pretty soon Starfire will be entering the Putaka Croe, a state of sexual fury that overtakes Tamaranians in love, driven by a desire to dominate and breed her girlfriend. Starfire is in for a bit of a surprise. So here we are, Tamaranean Mating Season by Drace Domino. Raven had been afraid of this moment since the day she and Starfire first started dating.
What are we doing for voices?
Whatever you want.
I never know.
She had worried about it so much that she almost didn't accept the young Tamaranean woman's invitation to go for, as she put it, pizza and makeouts.
And the makeouts.
Ultimately, Raven had been glad she took Starfire up on that invitation almost a year ago, but like a creeping shadow, the main thing she had been worried about had finally returned to haunt her. Complications in the romance of an alien and a half-demon. They were bound to happen, and when Starfire had last spoke to Raven about the issue, the sweet yet sometimes absent-minded young woman spoke as if there was nothing to worry about. Even later that week, as she researched it in her room in Titan's Tower, Raven could clearly recall her lover's words and just how happy she was when she spoke them.
I don't remember what
Raven,
she sounds like.
It is the most glorious.
I'm Starfire.
I know, but I'm just like giving you an...
She's a higher pitched, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm just, it's not going to sound anything like the actual character. Raven, it is one glorious event when the Butaka Crow, takes over. Oh, that's terrible.
It's fine.
Raven, it is the most glorious event when the Butaka Crow takes over.
Mm-hmm.
She had spoken the words while hugging Raven tightly around her shoulders, rubbing her cheek up and down the other girl's forehead in an almost cat-like fashion. It is the day that a Tamaranian's body changes for one glorious evening, breaking their physical restrictions for the sole purpose of breeding their mate. I cannot wait to do the breeding with you, Raven, and surely you will enjoy the thundering might of my dick of righteous conquest. I actually read this once.
Whoa, my God.
Wait.
My God. Continue. I'm just, what?
Raven had checked, and yes, that was the official name of it. In just a few days, Starfire would grow her dick of righteous conquest, and she would be driven by a primal, instinctive need to mate and breed with the lover she had chosen. And on the surface, Raven might have been fine with it. Their bedroom antics were already appropriately kinky, given the love affair between a repressed recluse...
look really short.
and an energy-holic that thrived on delight and hedonism. Whether their love-making was bouncy and bright, or dark and intense, the two had always enjoyed each other.
Ew.
Sometimes Starfire would giggle herself to multiple climaxes, while Raven serviced her from below. And other times, Raven would dwell and brood over existential regret while Starfire gave her a naked, full-body oil massage. Okay, then. And for the two of them, those extremes worked. Though Raven was worried, deeply worried about the impending Putaka Crow. I'm just not going to pronounce the E. And it wasn't because of Starfire. It was because of her, or more specifically, her blood. Thousands of years ago, ancient Tamaran was filled with horny Tamaranians going through the Putaka Crow, growing dicks of righteous conquest if they didn't already have one, and running each other to keep the population going. At the same time, in a distant galaxy, the demons of Raven's ancestry were using their infernal magic to infiltrate and exploit the species of Earth. To assimilate and spread their vile seed was their purpose. And whether they were producing human pheromones to enchant a horny medieval bar wench, or turning themselves into a female goat and presenting themselves to the nearest in a herd, they had always been sexual chameleons. Sometimes even actual chameleons having sex.
Ha!
The point was that a demon's method of continuing their line was to match their prospective mate to fall perfectly in line with the aching need of their body. And Raven didn't know how that was going to work with a species that had never encountered demonic influence before. It was likely the Putaka Crow was going to strike her in the same moment it hit Starfire, and so she researched, studying for a way to stave it off, to push back the influence, and to fight her body's natural desire to breed. Thankfully, as Starfire had best estimated, there were still a few days before the Putaka Crow struck hut. "Raven, it is splendid news! I'm experiencing the beginning of my surging event." What?
Oh?
Raven just gave a deadpan expression, sighed, and closed her book as she heard the young woman cheerfully cry as she made her way down the hall.
Figures. Oh, now I'm actually using the right voice. That's fine.
You're like, what's his face from the haircutting salon?
Figures. The girl murmured in a flat voice and pulled her hood back up and over her head. Whatever happened next, her research wouldn't do her any good. All the young woman could hope for would be to let her own bloodline's reaction embrace her and see what came next. Maybe the Putaka Crow wouldn't be that big of a change. As soon as Starfire came floating around the corner into Raven's room, the half-demon girl knew what sort of trouble they were both in store for. She could instantly tell that something had changed with Starfire's body. She was fully in the beginning throes of the Putaka Crow. With every passing moment, it was getting more severe. Starfire's normally modest chest had almost tripled in size already, to the point that her belly T was straining against the weight of them, and even the girl's cute, usually tight rear looked like it had grown bigger.
The battery's low.
No, shit. Most telling of all, however, was the noticeable tent tugging at the front of Starfire's short skirt, pushing from within. The dick of righteous conquest was growing.
Every time they say that.
And if what Starfire had mentioned to Raven in passing early that week was true, there was still more of it to take hold. Raven just swallowed, her eyes flickering up and down at the shifting body of her lover as she tried to maintain her calm, internally attempting to surprise the slow heat that was already growing.
I think they meant suppress, but they said surprise, yeah. "Raven, how marvelous, isn't it?" Starfire giggled wildly, floating in a circle to show herself off. "My grot bobs are so much bigger." Grot bobs. Oh. "And they're so sensitive." Her hands drifted towards her newly grown chest, and she squeezed each one while giving another excited chirp. Oh my God. "They feel like flying croc-dupe eggs." What the fuck? I don't understand, Tamaranean. Oh. "Would you like to feel, Raven?" Before the more reserved of the two women could protest, Starfire had already floated over, offering her new, tantalizing bust to her. Raven tried hard to avert her eyes, shielding her gaze with one hand as she kept trying to resist.
"I haven't lost my summer weight."
There was definitely something growing within her already. Her underworld blood recognizing the traits of Tamaraneans and already starting to copy it. Starfire didn't know how close she already was to seeing a new dick of righteous conquest pop up between them.
Raven's gonna get a oh my.
Yes! I told you, they both do.
I guess we'll just keep powering through it. Here we go.
You were the one who said you wanted to read this.
I did. "I don't think that's a good idea, Star," Raven murmured, whimpering as she let her eyes close. "I think that until your Putaka Crow ends, maybe we should keep our distance.
Unacceptable!" It's like Dumbledore.
"I am a Satanist!"
Starfire's voice was loud and vibrant, and utterly unwilling to accept defeat. One of her mighty hands lashed forward to clutch at Raven's wrist and pull her hand away from her eyes. "Behold them! Behold them!" They're really nice, actually.
Pig.
The attempt at retreating away from her affections only pushed Starfire's own passions more.
Oh, and Lindsay, we have to.
Well, your computer's over there. It's like
We'll
this,
cut
like
that.
really high up.
We'll cut that.
The attempt at retreating away from her affections only pushed Starfire's own passions more, and Raven could swear that in the seconds that followed, Starfire's bust grew another size, with an appropriately aching sound coming from the girl's stressed and strained top. "My special Blimthor will not be out of town when I am ready to make legacies of triumph with her body." She's so weird. Yeah. "Why, even thinking of you not being nearby, it makes me want to go into the Putaka Crow right now." Raven blinked, her eyes widening, as Starfire's emotional state only worked to draw the primal lust of the Tamaranean woman out further. Right before Raven's eyes, Starfire suddenly gave a wild roar. One that danced in between rage and desire, and her body once more started to change. The tearing noise of Raven's top came as her breasts finally became too large for the garment to handle. Ravens?
Yeah.
I guess. I think they mean Starfires.
Possibly.
The fabric snapping with ease as two large, full orbs came into sight.
Orbs?
Boobs aren't really shaped like orbs, but okay. Raven's eyes went wide and she swallowed tightly, her gaze flickering the bouncing presence of each head-shaped breast as they were unveiled. Like she didn't look away from the hypnotically large and delightful image until she heard Starfire strain into another roar. And this time, I sound like a velociraptor or something. And this time, the sudden appearance was all the more shocking. At first, Starfire's new cock only lifted her skirt, but it didn't take long before the throbbing, growing length to move too fast, too soon, and with a thrust of her hips, the Tamaranean girl burst through the fabric of it with a surprising ease. And there it was, the dick of righteous conquest in all its glory.
Are you reading what I'm fucking?
It was over a foot long, and already drooling with glistening pre-cum. And every last inch of it was thick, strong, and practically trembling with power. Under most circumstances, it would have been a fascinating thing for Raven to research. But there was something else going on in the room that was making her tremble in equal parts fear and arousal. Starfire's eyes had started to glow the bright green that could only mean one thing. The otherwise innocent girl meant business. "You are my Blibthor! Now suck on my Torgok!"
That's penis in Tamaranean.
Yes, apparently. Starfire's voice was practically menacing in its fury.
Furies.
And before Raven could utter even an Azarath in defense of herself, the Tamaranean had a hand within her dark purple locks and had pulled her head squarely out of her robe. Raven's gasping lips were wrapped with a forceful ease around the tip of the thick cock being offered up to her. And the now fully enraged Starfire gave another gleeful, triumphant laugh. "The Putaka Crow has begun! Blibthor, you will be bred!" Raven, for all her composure and her analytical mind, was utterly stunned in what was happening. Not only had she gone from reading her books to sucking on Starfire's enormous cock in a matter of seconds, it's like 2 minutes, she found herself as hungry for it in that moment as she had ever been. In the bedroom, Raven was typically the one in charge, the one that called the shots with a slow, gradual pace. For hours, she would tease and torment her beloved Starfire, keeping the innocent young woman's naked body twitching and writhing in sweaty glee. And through it all, Raven typically never looked anything less than completely composed. Now, she had been pulled onto her bare knees, sucking the thick cock of her floating girlfriend as if her next breath counted on it. Her hands moved to hold the sides of the enormous length, and she brought her tongue hungrily back and forth over the tip, licking it lewdly and without any semblance of shame or hesitation.
Oh, boy.
The dark forces that had been eating at Raven since she first heard about the Putaka Crow, I don't know the pronunciation, were firmly in control, and things were only going to get worse. And she was, in that moment of cocksucking glee, completely helpless to prevent it. "Yes, Blibthor! You look good on your knees like that!"
Oh my god.
Starfire laughed triumphantly.
Fuck me.
Laughed triumphantly, her eyes still glowing as she fed Raven her cock. But I want to see how deep you can go. She gave Raven no more warning than that before bucking her hips forward, her thick member pushing past Raven's lips and over her tongue, sliding down firmly into her throat. She apparently doesn't have a gag reflex, I guess. The young half-demon winced as she felt it stretch her throat, one of her wandering eyes glancing to a nearby mirror. One of her eyes?
Just one.
Glancing to a nearby mirror to see that the girl's member was literally pushing at her from the inside, showing a clear outline of cock against her flesh. I'm not sure that's, like, physically possible.
So, like, you can, like, see the dick in her throat.
I guess. Starfire's hand tightened within Raven's hair, and she grinned wide as she rolled her hips, forcing the tip of her thick, imposing member down just a little bit more as she continued to gloat. I will claim your snapooks next, so make sure it is wet. That's vagina. And from there, Raven's resolve finally snapped. The reserved young woman's senses had been broken down to her most base instincts, and just as her infernal ancestors before her would match the mating methods of their prey, she too soon did the same, her body jerking, and the thick cock of Starfire flew from her lips as she suddenly cried out. And right before Starfire's shocked eyes, Raven's body shook with the power of the Butaka Crow. Her slender, sexy black one-piece suddenly tore nearly to shreds, her massively expanding breasts tearing it apart, and her cock straining against the lap of it until it burst fully from the seams. Her length was the same pale, almost gray skin tone as Raven herself, and the light purple tip was already oozing a precum similar to that of Starfire's own. Even her rear had grown to match her lover's size and shape, both women inflated in their breasts, ass, and cock, but most importantly, in their desires.
Yikes.
Raven licked her lips as she rose from her knees, and she pointed squarely at Starfire's nose from across the room.
No, Tamaranean slut. She barked out with a wicked grin and took a moment to pull her hood up.
Oh my god.
The shadows covered her face when her eyes opened. They were a stark red, showing the full scope of her infernal powers as she began to check. Azarath Matrions in the...
I demand you let me fuck your snap pooks now. I should be like, that voice is getting annoying.
It's like smallpox.
But that voice is getting annoying. Her chant was cut off by Starfire, who simply roared in furious desire as she charged recklessly ahead. She was seemingly completely unfazed by her lover's sudden and unexpected transformation. The fact that Raven now had a cock measured in feet rather than inches, or that her breasts were swinging like bowling balls, didn't change the fact that for Starfire,
sound hot.
The girl still had holes that she was desperate to claim.
Doesn't sound good.
Each one of the women, despite their newfound dicks of righteous conquest, why am I the only one who has to say that all the time? Still had a slit nestled just underneath. Their native womanhood, or as Starfire had been fond of calling hers in more peaceful times, her happy touch spot of infinite love and sweet things. God, this person. Butaka Crow or not, dirty talk with Starfire was always interesting.
Oh my god, what? What?
The two crashed together in a sudden flurry of activity, both women suddenly overtaken by the passions burning inside of them. Starfire's powerful fists rose up with intent to beat down her girlfriend into a state of submission. It's kind of like those one flatworms that they're both hermaphrodites and they have penis fencing, and the one who loses becomes the female and is impregnated, and the other one. I learned that from a book I was reading.
I'm just gonna keep drinking my water, my non-branded water.
Flatworms. How to Be a Normal Person by, like, TJ something. I forget what it is.
When they connected against Raven's
Yeah. But when they connected against Raven's open palms, she found the half-demon to be far stronger than expected, her strength enhanced by the nether energies rolling through her body. As a result, each woman floated head toe-to-toe, their faces near as they leered at one another, and their enlarged breasts squeezing tight. This person has strange kinks, I'm just saying.
They're fucked up.
Even their thick, newly formed cocks batted back and forth.
They're dick fencing.
Yes, the shaft of each spawning at its rival, each one drooling a length of pre-cum in hungry anticipation. This is you.
You're going to taste my cock next, Tamaranean. Raven swore, her red eyes burning under the hood and her voice low and demonic. She grit her teeth as she collected her energies to push forward, a surge running through her as she forced Starfire back a few inches. We'll just see how cute you are when you're heavy with the grandchild of darkness. Starfire's muscles went tight, and she drew deep on her people's natural strength. The Butaka Crow was a common occurrence back home, and with all things the Tamaranean people had a tendency to turn it into an enormous brawl. They were a physical and powerful people, and even the simple act of procreation didn't take place without a fight. That evening was no different, and Starfire's fists tightened hard as she cursed back at her girlfriend.
No, it is you who'll be tasting of the chicken! It likely sounded more threatening in Star's head, though no amount of sexual rage could have made her accurate grasp the language. Accurately? I don't know. As she yelled back at Raven, her member throbbed and ached, sliding it again against Raven's and spreading a long line of pre-cum up the pale woman's shaft.
Oh my god.
Perhaps a baby will make you smile more!
I smile plenty. I'm very happy with you.
They're fighting. They're I love you. I love you too.
Raven roared in response, her red eyes flashing as she called out. To express such a sentiment so openly was strange for the reserved girl, especially when it came to shouting her feelings at the top of her lungs. And despite the kind words, her voice sounded angry and infuriated, pushing to the brink of her rabid desire to mate. Another
brink by her.
Another surge of energy flowed through Raven as she called out again. This time took the offensive. I'll prove it to you, Starfire of Tamaran. And with that, a flash of Raven's black magic pulled up from underneath Starfire, and the daughter of Trigon took the upper hand, as Starfire was sent spinning from a sudden flip from infernal magic. Raven enclosed over her, her hands moving to grasp the other woman's ankles and yank them up high as she lowered Starfire to her shoulders against the ground. Raven grit her teeth and forced herself down, and a howl from the Tamaranean with a howl from the Tamaranean girl, her throbbing thick cock met the mark of the tiny slit hiding underneath Starfire's. The strength and tightness of the beautiful young woman instantly overcame Raven, and for a glorious few seconds she could feel everything Starfire had to offer. The moisture, the heat, the firm, glorious grip going along every inch of her 1.5-foot long cock. And Raven's eyes rolled back in her head, moaning in mad bliss at the sensation. Though she had partially lost her mind due to her reaction to Starfire's condition, she knew that the sudden stuff of her length into the girl's tight hole was just about the most intense thing she had ever felt, and because she was so disarmed by it, it was easy for Starfire to escape. The Tamaranean was quick to activate her flight and slip away, and almost as soon as Raven felt the joy of Starfire's pussy, she had lost it, and her cock was left with the memory of how great it felt. Even worse, Starfire used the moment of whimpering distraction to drift behind her lover, tackling her and shoving her hard to the floor below. Raven gasped as she struck the ground, her enlarged breasts taking most of the blow with the full weight of Starfire on top of her. The redhead laughed triumphantly as she pulled from Raven's hood and cape, tearing them easily away from her body and throwing them to the distant corner of the room. While she still had the upper hand, the Tamaranean took a hold of her enormous cock, and with Raven laying face down on the ground, aimed it squarely at the girl's pale, wet slit. Don't you dare, Starfire. Her voice was stolen when the young girl did precisely what she had been warned not to, shoving her member deep into the pale girl's slit.
Starfire... They say slit every time.
Starfire beamed as she hilted herself, and unlike Raven, she refused to get lost in the sensation of her lover's wonderfully tight hole. She took the moment to secure her position of dominance, and while Raven was moaning with a 1.5-foot cock shoved into her, she worked to make sure the girl stayed there. Her hands pushed down on Raven's shoulders, and she used her own enlarged breasts to hold down on the back of her head, squeezing in and giving a triumphant grin as she rolled her hips back and forth. Even her voice slipped out with a cocky grin, her normally kind and innocent tone completely replaced by the girl in the midst of her people's breeding fury.
Now be a good girl Oh, it makes me think of yesterday. And stop fighting this! She demanded, and started to thrust within Raven, sending a few scattered gasps into the air. With all her might, she continued to hold Raven down, moaning in delight, and thrilling at the feel of her lover's tight, wet entrance. They just say slit entrance, all these. Right?
They're scared of the word vagina.
Yes. Think how pretty you will be with your belly big with the maternity.
Raven winced, her fingers grasping at the carpet out of her bedroom, and her entire body held stiff. She was powerless in that moment to fight back, her knees digging in against the ground, and every second filling her with more and more of Starfire's cock. The Tamaranean was relentless in her thrusting, and each time she crashed into Raven, it sent the half-demon's enlarged rear to bounce, giving Starfire all the comfortable cushion that she could want. The two practically feral girls continued to groan and whimper in delight as they were joined. And though Raven's cock was still missing the taste of Starfire's pussy, she wasn't about ready to fully give up. Starfire's hands on her shoulders meant the girl wouldn't be able to muffle her voice, and as Raven continued to jerk back and forth from each of Starfire's thrusts, she closed her eyes and tried to find her center, reaching out for her powers. It was tricky to do with the overwhelming pleasure erupting inside of her and the furious need to breed her partner in much the same way. But she stretched herself until she could find a flicker of control, and at that point her lips parted to speak. Ozran Mentrion Zindas. She finally called out, and Starfire gave a sudden cry as Raven's powers made the scene again. A great black raven's claw erupted from the ceiling of the bedroom, and with ferocious might, it picked Starfire up, holding her fiercely as it began to lift her. The young woman thrashed and roared, shivering with regret as her cock slipped out of Raven's hole, still wet and glistening with the nectar of the pretty young thing. The massive... I'm not even going to react. I don't care. The massive thing continued to bounce up and down as she fought against the grip of the special Raven, but no matter how Starfire or her cock flailed, it seemed like an impossible position. Raven just smirked from her place on the floor, floating up into the air as she started to speak once more. Her pussy was practically dripping with her own nectar and Starfire's pre-cum, but the Tamaranean had her chance to breed her but failed. Now Raven had the upper hand, and she was intent on taking what was rightfully hers. The grip of her spectral claw tightened considerably on Starfire's body, and Raven pulled up so she could float face to face with her lover, a confident smirk pressed against her lips. Now where were we? She asked, her eyes burning bright, vibrant red. Every time I hear eye descriptions, I get exhausted by them. Though
it's not as bad as
I know. Though her hood and cape had been discarded, and her usual black uniform torn to shreds by her sudden expansion,
so she's
what tattered remains of clothing had stayed on her only made Raven look more feral and demonic, like a last survivor of a great apocalypse. And all that survivor wanted was to start a new world, using Starfire's womb as the incubator. The half-demon grinned as she lifted up Starfire's legs with ease. When the girls started to fuss and fidget, the claw of the spectral bird held her even tighter. Once her legs were lifted and her slit was exposed, Raven just grinned as she pushed inside, lodging her enormous member deep into Starfire, the tip pushing so far into her head started to swim. What the fuck does that mean?
What?
Her head started to swim.
Is
there so much
get
nectar?
Like dizzy.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I was like...
Not literally.
I thought it was a penis joke. I'm sorry.
What?
I thought it was like the penis head was swimming in the nectar.
No.
Whatever.
It's her head.
Moving on.
And she's like, oh, everything's spinning.
How delicious, tight Tamaranean slut. Raven roared, licking her lips. But since I'm not an unkind witch, I'll even allow you to have some fun. She had noticed Starfire's cock for sure. It was sticking straight up and was still coated in Raven's nectar.
Why is it a nectar? They've referred to it like that like 4 times now.
Desperate
Nectar.
and hungry for more. As it stood straight up, Raven could have sworn the thing had actually grown more, and for her purposes in that moment, it was perfect. She wouldn't leave Starfire's cock go wanting, and in order to pleasure it, she moved a hand out, grabbing the redhead's locks and pulling her head down.
So is she making her suck her own?
Starfire made a whimpering gasp as she was forced to suck the head of her own enormous cock, all the while getting fucked by the pale, throbbing member of her girlfriend.
When did she insert it? I don't remember that ever happening.
That's what's made her head spin. That's why I thought it was a penis joke.
Oh. I don't... Okay. I didn't catch
The grip
that.
of the raven and its owner's own hands were too much for the girl to fight against, and for a few lingering moments she was forced to do nothing but dangle in the air, suspended, fucked, and forced to suck herself. She slurped the flavor of Raven's pussy from the tip of her head, all while her hole was hammered with a steady series of hungry thrusts, whimpering and burning with a righteous fury.
It's your fault.
That was slowly growing. Yeah, this is real righteous, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes burned with righteous anger as she looked up from the service she was forced into, glaring at the triumphant raven as her muscles tightened and her body started to shake. It didn't take much longer than a moment or two of tasting Raven's hole in the tip of her mouth to remind Starfire just how good it was to be inside of her, and that memory fueled Starfire's next Can they just be fucking done? Next action. While Raven continued to thrust and claim her lover like a stuck pig, the Tamaranean's eyes began to glow in their own vibrantly green color. What eyes? What color? What color do Starfire's eyes glow when she's pissed or whatever?
Green. And Raven's eyes are red.
Raven didn't notice it until it was
It's
too
red
late
and green
that
all
Starfire
over-
was preparing
all over
something
again.
big, and when it happened, it sent both women rolling through the room. A burst of green energy exploded from all around Starfire, sending the spectral Raven packing and launching the actual Raven across the room. The alien was quick to pursue, darting towards her lover and catching her in midair, only to tackle her hand against the hard against the bed. Her goal was to push Raven down and hold her into the mattress, to fuck and breed her until Raven had drained her of every last trace of cum. And it would have happened were it not for Raven's defiance. Azra matchons endas. The words that had cursed Starfire several times that night came up once more and wrapped both of their bodies in that dark spectral energy. It was her goal to pin Starfire to the bed so she could breed her to completion.
What does that mean? I think we've heard that
To
phrase
completion?
before.
That's essentially the same as coming.
No, I know, but I feel like in another fic we had something to completion. It's like, how does that breeding to completion?
Oh my god, I love wording it that way. I actually love that. Okay. To breed her to completion in a similar scale, but even her power wasn't enough to push back every trace of Starfire's sexual rage. As a result, neither woman got exactly what they wanted by the time they fell to the mattress. And yet, at the same time...
Oh god. How does this position even work?
You're so tight, Star. Raven whimpered, gazing down at the state they had fallen into.
How would this even work? It is you who are the tight, Raven! Starfire responded, her cheeks red and her hands squeezing her enormous breasts. Both girls were inside each other.
Wait.
What?
So the dicks are like at the front of both, and the vagina's like right under the dick. So we got like, this is like the anatomy.
You bend it like
So
straight down
here's
and,
like here's like the vagoo. So like one girl's vagoo, like make the L. Make the L. Make the L like this. Okay, so this is the dick and this is the vagoo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Use the other
Now
one.
put it together. No, because it's like this, and then like so like yeah, they're like making a square. It's like this. Anatomy 101 with Kenneth and Lindsay.
But how would that work?
Oh god,
I guess.
you get to read.
The wrestling and twisting and magic in midair had forced them to land intimately on the bed, each girl's enormous cock finding a home in the other's hole, and their bodies crashing with their legs tangled about each other. Their members were throbbing with might and joy inside of the other's hole. And though they both had the instinct to be the one to do the breeding, rather than being bred, even the burning primal furies of their condition saw the moment as a glorious compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And with each of their cocks stuffed in the other, the two women met each other's gaze and started to thrust. For the first time that evening, they were working together rather than against each other, Raven and Starfire's bodies aching back and forth as they furiously fucked each other's warm, wet holes. Their pussies were wrapped impossibly tightly around the wonderful, thick members they had grown.
Grown. Groan.
Grown. And as they continued to have at each other, they could only dwell in the eventuality of what would happen. They were breeding each other in that moment. They knew as much. utterly unable and unwilling to pull their newfound cocks out of each other's holes. By the time morning would come around, they'd both be pregnant and filled. Even Raven, who was often so protective of spreading her demonic bloodline, was firmly of a mind to seed her lover with her child. Hesitations and worries be damned. All she wanted in that moment was to flood her lover's womb with cream. And when their orgasms finally struck them, it was incredible. Their sweat-licked bodies twitched as both girls roared in passion. And their dicks of righteous conquest
You're the only one who's had to say that.
did exactly as had been advertised. The mighty throbbing of their thick shafts started to fill the other, and as the two women were wrapped up in their blissful climax, they began to flood each other with warmth. Literally. Raven's eyes went wide as she saw Starfire's belly starting to inflate, floated by the sheer copious amount of cum that she was somehow producing.
Fuck!
Not too long after she realized that the exact same thing was happening to her, her own belly stretching and growing wide as Starfire started to pump what felt like gallons of seed within her. Starfire whimpered as her head fell back, licking her lips as she moved her hands up, caressing her bloating, stretched belly. It was already larger than if she was pregnant in that moment, stretching up and up like a balloon as she was filled. And though Raven had a loving instinct to reach out to her, she was utterly robbed of the chance, her own moan breaking into the room as her head fell back as well. The two women remained locked and motionless as they inflated each other with their cum, filling each other with gallons of hot, delicious spunk. Every breath made it feel like the copious... Stop doing that.
Sorry.
Seed was sloshing around in Raven's belly, and the half-demon whimpered as she laid back, staring at the ceiling. Her own member finally felt like it had finished draining itself within Starfire, yet she kept her cock inside of the girl because she lacked the energy to pull away. Instead, she just laid there, too heavy with cum to move and too exhausted from her fury to pull away, surrounded with the scent of their violent sex and filled with the comforting warmth of Starfire's gallons of cum. It was all too easy for Raven's eyes to close and sleep to overtake her. And in the morning... Glorious! Starfire's voice was the first thing to wake Raven up, and the redhead crashed into her lover's arms from above. The half-demon grunted from her still sore body, feeling the impact, but the voice of her lover was making her smile even before she opened her eyes. "It was successful, Raven! I have put the baby inside of you, and you have done it to me!" She broke into a delightful giggle. And Raven nodded gently as she cradled Starfire close. It was still a little early for her to think about the ramifications of everything they had done, so for the moment, she kept her eyes closed and asked the only question that was still dwelling on her mind.
"Hey, Star," she asked, voice curious and even a bit excited. "Does the Putaka Crow only happen to Tamaraneans once a year?" The end.
So that was an adventure. Look at that waveform there.
That's my rating. Whoo! Out of 10. What's yours?
Out of 10 this time?
Sure.
Usually we go 5.
We're going 10.
9.5. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
I don't know out of 10 and whoo! Out of 10. Yeah, I've got nothing. That was it.
I mean, I did read it once before this. Just because I came across it.
I picked it.
I forget how I found it.
Regret. That's all I have to say about this one. Regret.
I mean, there were 6 explicit Starfire Raven fan fictions on AO3, and we picked like the longest one.
Yeah.
And the one that actually sounded the most less short and weird and not weird exactly, but
thank you guys for watching. I'm defeated by this one.
Inflation, Futanari.
It was pretty gross. That whole inflation
I
thing
told
was
you
disgusting.
that about the tanks when I
I know, you said inflation. I thought it was just body parts. I didn't realize it was like their bellies filled. Oh, it was gross. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys made it to the end because that
You learn things about me.
That'd be cool.
I've read things.
If you made it to the end, give yourself a high five, and be sure to give the video a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, because we have awesome new content coming out every week.
We'll eventually add more
Not
things.
this. I don't think I ever want to read something like this again. I probably will end up on the show doing it, but I don't think I want
read
to.
a daddy kink, and foot fetish, and other things that you find gross.
Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in.
Suggest one of those below, please.
Join us next week when we return to Clockwork and not this.
Oh, true.
Bye, everyone.
We'll do like 3 or 4 weeks of Clockwork.
I'm just gonna wave until you wave too. Say bye.
Bye.
Cool.
Inflation.